Here we have a potentially disastrous purchase because it came from stinking eBay, which I have not regularly looked on for years for a whole host of reasons. Recently I was having a conversation with the letter H and the different keywords that we would use to search for cordless phones on there came up as a discussion topic, and some of the keywords that he said were different than the ones that I would use. And so for the sake of curiosity I went on there and typed in these different keywords to see how they compared in terms of results. And most of the things I found were grotesquely overpriced, which is why I don't shop on there anymore. But I happened to come across this particular listing of Uniden 900MHz cordless telephones, which was pretty reasonably priced. And I put in a lowball offer. I think it was either $20 or $25, and to my surprise it was accepted. So here we end up with this. Now, as far as the market value, well, let's open it up and see what we have first, and then we can talk about that question. It looks like it was packed with decent care. One of the problems I used to have with shipping these types of phones was that the antennas would break because they get kind of brittle over the years, and in the package, if you bend it or whatever, it just snaps. But this seems like it's in pretty good shape still. It did not bend in the box, so it didn't break. The first thing I always do is make sure we have no battery in there. Here's the base unit. Again, check for the battery. Now the power cord is not original. This is a Nortel, Northern Telecom power adapter. It's 9 volts, 350 milliamps. And this calls for 10 volts at it doesn't say what the amperage is, but it's very high. It's like, I want to say it's 1,000 milliamps. It's very high power. This adapter probably worked, but it's not. I'm not going to use it with it, and it's really not worth complaining about for the price paid. So the next one, oh, we have a manual too. Is this the original copy? No, I think this is a reprint, but it's convenient. I don't have to do it now. And then the second one is in the box, which is cool. I really like the boxes. This is the model EXS9966, and this is also the 9966. So I'm wondering if one of these has never been used. The box is not in the best of condition, but it's still presentable. All the font and everything is readable. The graphics are in decent condition, and it is a 30-year-old box. So we have to take that into consideration. We've got the original carton inside still. And it looks like this one also survived shipping pretty well. The antenna's in good shape. This one's much cleaner. Probably saw less use. It looks like it might have fallen once. This one's a little dirtier, but it's generally in good condition. Not too much wear. We do have a clip here for this handset, and we have the wall mount bracket, and we have, this is the correct adapter. No, this is not the correct adapter actually. This one is a 9 volts 350 milliamps, which ironically is the same thing as this, but these are both wrong. Now this is a Uniden power supply, and again it probably works because it's, you know, with the way the voltage is regulated in this type of equipment, it probably works just fine, but it's not the correct adapter. These call for 10 volts. And the adapter's huge. It's probably twice the size of this. So this is a Canadian model, which is kind of odd because we're not in Canada. Maybe this one was serviced, I don't know. I wonder what the serial numbers are in these things if they're very close. One of them is 04004569. The other one is 04010057. So it's not particularly close. I was intrigued by that because I thought maybe they'd be purchased at the same time. So we have two adapters that, I mean, this adapter I could definitely use for something else. This is a real Uniden adapter. This is AD312. I think this is very old. This is might even be older than these phones. We have two batteries here, which are not the original batteries, I don't think. These are the correct batteries. They're BT999s. It's a 3.6 volt nickel cadmium pack. I have no idea if these are good or not. You can rebuild these. You can open these packs up, or you can open up this plastic part and solder in new cells, which is probably your cheaper option at this point. These are becoming very expensive now. So, surprisingly, this purchase was not a disaster. Everything was packed pretty nicely, and although the power supplies are not correct, everything is generally complete and in reasonable condition. If everything works, I don't know. It probably does. These are extremely reliable telephones. I won't use it like this long term, but I'll plug it in just right quick to see if the batteries happen to have a charge or if they take a charge. I was told that these telephones were used in a home business. So it is working. It's working with this adapter, but it's definitely not the right one. I bet this phone was serviced at some point. Usually that's what happens when people put those stickers on there. It's from like a warranty service company or something. Okay, no charge on that battery. Let's see if it comes up. I don't know how long it's been since these batteries were not charged. If it's been a couple weeks, it should come right up. If not, then they might be spoiled. As far as the market value is concerned, I don't have a good answer for that. I've been getting that question a lot over the last couple of years across all different types of equipment. And my answer tends to be the same. The equipment is worth whatever someone's willing to pay. And quite frankly, I have no idea what that is. When it comes to certain things like a fan, for example, if it's new old stock, I would say that it's worth whatever the original price was, inflated, minus whatever parts might need to be replaced, like a capacitor, for example. So that's pretty simple. With electronics, I don't really think that having a new in-box stuff is worth that much more, because from my experience, and this is hundreds of models that I'm speaking of, when you buy something new old stock that's electronic, very consistently it doesn't work as reliably as something that's been in use since it was made, because the capacitors dry out and don't work properly when they haven't had power for decades. So new old stock stuff is really cool. I'll personally pay a little bit more because I like boxes. And so if you have a box, something that's never been opened, and the box is in great shape and the graphics are good and everything, I'll pay a bit more for that. But from a functional perspective, I would actually say it's unlikely that the phone works better than one that's been used since it was purchased for the first time. Which is kind of weird to think about, but that's been my experience over the years. I have also seen a lot of people go on eBay and search for a particular model and then, you know, compare a couple auctions and say, oh, this is the market value based off of what it sold on eBay. And I don't agree with that. You know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, totally different story. But in more recent times, especially with certain type of the things, tends to be the stuff I look at, the eBay has turned into this like elite marketplace for those with deep pockets. And I've seen this happen firsthand many times. People will list something for a ridiculously high price and let it sit for years before the auction sells in order to take advantage of the fact that there are some collectors that are willing to pay a very high price for certain pieces. I just don't like that, because to me, collecting stuff like this, or anything really, should not be about who has the most money. And that's kind of what you're limited to on eBay right now for a lot of different things. I would say, if I had to put a price on something like this, let's take this condition for example. Used, presumably working, we'll excuse the fact that the adapter's missing and say it's complete. The box is there, but it's pretty beat up. I would say $25 to $35 is what I would personally pay. There are certain phones I would pay much more than that for, that I'm looking for in particular, and that are very hard to come across. But it really is, it's going to vary from collector to collector and who's willing to pay what. And unfortunately eBay, a lot of people on eBay are currently taking advantage of that. Now, I will say that these telephones are getting old. They're getting more scarce. These things are almost 30 years old. These are products of the mid to late 90s. So they're becoming more scarce with every day that goes by. And these 900 megahertz phones in particular are kind of unique because unlike other cordless phones like 900 megahertz analog, 5.8 gigahertz, etc., these are unique in the sense that there is nothing in terms of cordless phones that has come out since the 90s that works better. If you need a long-range phone, this technology, the 900 megahertz digital spread spectrum, blows everything else out of the water, sometimes by thousands of feet of performance. The latest and greatest, most expensive, newest DEC 6 cordless phone will not hold a candle to the range that this thing can perform, can handle. These phones can handle thousands of feet of range. And I'm not talking line of sight, I'm talking about a real world use case. These can easily go 1,000 feet. In my neighborhood, it's very dense, very densely populated. I can take one of these around the block, and at the furthest point it's almost 1,000 feet. That can be 8 or 10 houses, and it still gets reception. It's unbelievable how good these things perform. There is nothing like it since that performs the same way these phones do. So these are sought after for that reason. When I lived at the old location, 900 megahertz DSS was my most sought after variant of cordless phone because I like to talk outside. You know, my yard is smaller here at this house, but I still like to be able to take it around the block and I'm walking the dog or whatever. These are great. Nothing else delivers that performance. So they're sought after. They're absolutely worth preserving. If you have one, don't throw it out. Don't bring it to recycling. Throw it on, you know, eBay or whatever, Facebook Marketplace or whatever you want to use. 20, 30 bucks, it'll move. Absolutely. You know, they're not a gold mine unless you have someone, again, that's particularly looking for a specific model and is willing to pay that kind of money. But they're definitely worth something, and they should be preserved because they're exceptionally good quality, exceptionally good performance, and they can't be replaced because there's nothing else like them that performs on this level in terms of the range. So hopefully that clears up that question. I know it's probably not what people are looking for, but I don't have a numerical answer. You know, it's not like we can compare different retailers and see, you know, what market competition is. There's not enough of them selling that we can see what an average price is that a good portion of the population is willing to pay. Like I said, the only thing that we have in terms of numerical values is the I know it's not technically scalping, but it's the scalpers on eBay selling these things. The only number we have, and the sales on there, I really don't believe represent the majority of people that would be looking to buy a phone, be it for practical use or a collector. So anyways, it looks like the batteries are spoiled. It's been charging this whole time and it's not coming up, so we'll have to rebuild these packs. I wonder if the charging current is lower, as this is not having enough power going into it. That could also be as well. But anyways, the purchase was not a disaster. We have two phones in decent condition, one box. Not bad. You know, for 25 bucks plus whatever the shipping was, reasonable.